This is a step-by-step checklist to go from 0 to 30K per month in high ticket sales. I've broken it down into 4 clear phases because most people fail not from the lack of talent or skill. They're actually doing the right things, but they're doing it in the wrong order. By the way, this isn't just theory, it's the actual checklist I use to close 150K in 1 month in high ticket sales for clients like Ali Abdaal. Trust me, if I had this checklist a lot sooner, I would have saved years of wasted time. All right, let's talk about the first phase, the $0 per month. The goal here for most beginners is to get your first client. Most beginners, they ask questions like, oh, how can I make my first 10K per month? How do I get there as quickly as possible? In my opinion, this is actually the wrong question to ask. The real question to ask is, how can I work with a client to solve a 100K per month problem? Because if you make 10% of that, then that's your 10K there. That's the 80-20 rule. That's the 20% that'll get you 80% of the results. But here's the problem. So many people just like DM random people and are like, do you need a high ticket closer? And not gonna lie, it's kind of a weak proposition and probably not gonna work in this day and age. And if you've been in high ticket sales for any amount of time, then you know applying through the front door isn't really a really great effort on your time either. Okay, but why do people fail here in the first place? Well, in my opinion, they send a generic ass DM. The worst DMs are the ones that are through ChatGPT, or it's like, hey you, hey there, like very generic. If you're gonna send DMs, you have to go specific. The second thing is they suck at kind of empathizing with the person or putting themselves in the shoes of the client. AKA, they don't realize by taking a new high ticket closer or high ticket salesperson, they're making a big high risk ask for the potential client. And then the third part kind of goes with the second part, but they don't realize that trust is a major factor when working with someone. Believe me, I've heard horror stories where people sold lead data to a competitor, or they actually, instead of charging the company's Stripe account, the closer was unethical and charged their own Stripe account, so they took the money and stole that money from that client. So yeah, trust is a major factor here. The main skill that you have to build is how to build relationships with referrals. Sure, you can do paid media, you can do content, but honestly, when you are just beginning, the best way to go is like direct or get referrals. So how do we actually get like referrals or build these relationships? Well, there's a first step of like finding these founders. You want to find new high ticket offers that are like starting to scale. Not the person who's just like, hey, I'm launching a high ticket offer, I'm just seeing if it would work. Those are not your typical people. You want to catch people who are so busy with sales calls and they're starting to outsource. That's the key part. The reason why I say this is because business owners at this point, I call this the S curve, right? But right at the bottom S curve, these business owners feel very overwhelmed. They're not very systematized. They have the highest return because they're on the up and up as well. And so you can actually grow with them. And so you want to target the people with a lot of momentum. But where do you actually find the people? So my favorite tip is like, look at your favorite creators. Maybe it's like Chris Do or like Ali Abdaal or whoever you really look up to. And then chances are you can never get a hold of them unless you buy their program or something like that. I got really lucky working with Ali. But what you want to do is look at the testimonials and see if they're kind of in that spot. And if they don't work, then you go down their testimonials and keep on going down until you can get a hold of someone and stuff too. So once you find a creator, do you just DM them? In my opinion, it's very low probability unless you have like high level connects. Like since I'm friends with other people, they can ask like, oh yeah, do you know Kevin? And they can say yeah, but like if you're brand new, you don't have this advantage. So when I was new and I was first starting, one of the ways that I did it was I would buy high tech programs that I actually liked and the skill sets I wanted to learn myself. I think this is the most authentic way because you can actually relate to the customer journey, you can empathize with the people on the phone who are interested in buying, and you can always say that you are a previous client, which is such a huge thing. But here's a problem. So many people are so freaking cheap that they do not want to invest themselves, yet they want to ask people for thousands of dollars, which is crazy in my opinion. And so the reason why I like buying high-tech programs is like, one, I get to learn a skill set. But two, it's a really great way to build trust with a new creator because they don't know you, but you shelled out some money to support their cause, and action speaks louder than words in my opinion. I'm not saying that you can't DM people, by the way. but like we're not in 2018 anymore. Like looms were really cool back then, but everybody does them now and you just blend in with the crowd. So what do you need to do? You need to stand out. And in my opinion, money talks. And it says, I value your stuff. I'm a customer. I understand the customer journey. I'm here to support your mission and your business. That way, if you buy, then message, you also have a much higher chance of getting a response back. That's my secret tip. The other method I like to do is build a non-needy referral network. The best time to kind of build referrals is when you don't need anything. So that's why I recommend like, dude, keep your day job, keep all that sort of stuff and just build a network. Make business friends, meet other closers, meet high ticket sales agencies, things like that, because you just never know who would refer you over. Not all the referrals are good, by the way, but it definitely helps having that referral network too. Just be up and honest and doing something called an accusation audit. You'll have to learn this on your sales calls, but it's basically anticipating what someone's perception of you. So it's like, hey, you might be seeing this message and you might be like, hey, what is your experience? The truth is, I'm brand new. I realize I'm high risk, but what I want to do is make your team's life easier. I'm willing to do admin. I'm willing to do this, that. By doing that, it actually shows a bit of self-awareness a lot of times and builds trust that way. You're not trying to be deceitful in your intentions, right? It's the same kind of way with pickup too. The next part is make a sexy value proposition for the people you want to work with. What you don't want to do is like come up with nothing. It might not be perfect, your value prop or what you want to do for them. You should come in with something so people can just say yes or no really easily. The daily checklist would look like, hey, find 3 to 5 founders every single day with new high ticket offers. Consider buying one program you'd actually want to be a customer and actually close for. Send 3 honest, personalized connection DMs. Not do you need a closer, but really taking the time to compliment someone's work, to say how much someone's work really impacted you, to really strategize whether you should buy this person's program or not too. You want to look on Reddit, you want to see if it has really great reviews, all that sort of stuff. And then create one sexy proposition that you say yes if you're the founder of. If it's a business owner, chances are they have some sort of content so you can extrapolate how that person thinks and upload as an avatar and just like be like, hey, what would Ali Abdaal think is a sexy no-brainer offer? And then I would reach out to 2 to 5 like other experienced closers or business owners or agency owners or recruiters to help build up that referral network. You wouldn't believe this, but my referral network started building probably like 2 or 3 years in. So this is a long-term asset that is really, really good. So now that we're done with phase 1, which in my opinion is the hardest phase, let's go into phase 2. You're making $1,000 to $6,000 per month. The goal here is to learn something called inbound setting. You might be wondering, well, Kevin, what is inbound setting? Basically, inbound setting isn't about closing, but it's learning how to qualify and position for that close, kind of running discovery calls and stuff. So the core concept behind inbound setting isn't for you to be the top closer, but it's really to maximize the time of the top closers. So let's say you can't close, but you can filter out people for the person who's always converting or has the highest conversion rates, right? So you can add value by maximizing their time. And so this is really good if you are brand new to the team or they have their main closing team filled or they simply just don't trust you enough to take on the sales calls. Your role is just to protect the calendar of the top producers and pre-sell trust before the top closers or sometimes even the founder shows up too. Now in theory, this makes a lot of sense, but why do people fail here? Well, one, they don't know how to ask qualification questions tactfully, right? Like you don't have the soft skills, you haven't done discovery enough. 2, you suck at the soft skills. So things like mirroring, labeling, accusation audits, which we talked about earlier, tonality, making sure that you don't have an uptick, you have a downtick or downward tonality for your statements. Things like buffering. Sometimes too, like you might have that needy energy where you're playing more customer service and trying to make that person happy. And you're just being way too needy on that first call. And this is actually how I learned sales. I started as an inbound setter and I learned all these like smaller skill sets during this time. I did this for like 1 to 2 years. The other reason why people fail here is that they assume what they think is what the other person is thinking. A great example is probably like expensive, right? You're not gonna talk about this on a discovery call, but like when we talk about, oh, this is expensive. Well, expensive to someone in Southeast Asia, in Jakarta, Jakarta, where I'm at, is way different from expensive in LA or New York or any of these baller cities. Expensive to Elon Musk is going to be very different from what I consider expensive, unfortunately. So one of the biggest errors to make is just assume that when people throw out these terms, we're talking about the same thing. Another reason why people fail here is that they pitch too early without understanding the situation, meaning we don't have full context of the situation and we're like talking about the solution way too quick. That's why I really like inbound setting, because it teaches you to pause everything, take everything step by step. And also, let's say we're doing inbound setting, what is the skill that we need to learn here? The major skill that you have to learn is how to run discovery calls. This includes how to pre-frame calls, right? To position your calls, how to set expectations, right? Even before the call starts and on the call without saying too much, how to be curious and empathetic. This is one of the hardest skills, by the way, to learn in sales, and how to disqualify without eroding trust or damaging brand trust or anything like that. And how to run a clean 15 to 20 minute discovery with next clear steps too. Staying on time is really, really tough because you don't know how to interrupt people tactfully and stuff. So you have to learn all these small skills of conversation and communication as well. So how do you learn this? Well, there's a few ways. The first thing is you can study a high ticket sales course on discovery. The second step is to get a script written in your voice, the way you would talk, for the offer you're trying to sell. You can literally take my scripts and run it through something like Poppy AI to get the discovery done and all that. And then you want to really prioritize your first 50 to 100 calls like ASAP. It's through these reps you kind of get more comfortable. It's often like jujitsu where, you know, like when you're a white belt, you just want to get as much mat time to just get really comfortable so you can relax, because it's not natural to take sales calls, but it does get easier. And then as you are a beginner, you can either bring them to a coach, or a more cost-effective way is to run your transcripts through AI to see what you could have done better. Now, keep in mind, 70% of communication is nonverbal, so you won't get that information, but it's better than nothing. At least you have some sort of feedback loop. So let's say you've been doing inbound setting for a little bit. What is phase 3? Phase 3 is going from $6,000 to $20,000 per month. And now, the goal is to learn closing. And here is the core concept. You now have the insights from discovery. Now you just need to learn the skill of learning how to get the commitment and ask for the sale. By the way, closing is not manipulation or convincing. It's holding space to get the other person clarity so that they can make the best decision for them. At the end of the day, I can't force someone to buy, but I can hold space and really help them, walk them through their decision-making process to have them think with their prefrontal cortex and decide whether they should buy or not. Here are the reasons why people fail here. One, kind of like the previous thing, they are too needy. They don't have that with or without you energy. There's something about being too eager where it breaks trust, because a true trusted advisor would be like, hey, this actually doesn't work for you. You should probably look elsewhere. Here's some recommendations, something like that. But if you don't have that with or without you energy, there's something very repulsive about that, I think. People get really disgusted by it. It's just like dating, when you are too needy, where it just really turns people off. Same thing with sales a lot of times. The next reason why people fail here is like you talk too much, right? So an important thing here is that, you know, of course you're talking, but you're not really using the context to loop back into their problems and to make it relatable to them. The other reason why most people fail here too is that they're too pushy or something near the end. You might be asking, what's an assumptive sale? It might be like, okay, so do you want the car in black or red? And you're assuming that someone would buy. Especially in modern day sales, don't do this. It's like very repulsive, and especially more sophisticated buyers, they don't like this either. So most people don't like being forced into a decision or driven into a decision. There's a permission-based way to ask this instead. The other reason why people fail here too is that they focus way too much on features like what's in the program or what's in this solution versus the benefits, like why people should actually care about this for their particular situation. The skill development here is learn how to close. There's a few methods here that I would recommend when learning how to close. You can study a high ticket sales course on the presentation part. The next thing that you want to do is write down the 3 to 5 most common problems people are saying in the discovery calls. You'll recognize this over and over again, and then you'll know kind of like what to kind of present when you see this problem. Usually these problems can be broken down into different phases. And then what you want to do too is write down the 3 to 5 most common objections to why someone might not buy, and be able to kind of, as you're like, yes, there is objection handling, but something I find way better is to pre-handle these objections while you're talking about it. So for example, with Ali Abdaal's program, we used to give kind of thumbnail feedback. And one of the common objections I guess people would have would be like, is the advice that people are giving any good? And what I would do is like, okay, if I anticipated that, I'd be like, hey, one of the things that we offer is a thumbnail room. These are the same people that are working on Ali's channel. So you don't have to worry about, hey, is the feedback I'm getting any good, right? We can anticipate this and kind of restructure our presentation. And it also becomes, with every single sales call, it becomes like a feedback loop where your presentation gets better and more refined with each iteration that happens as well. Then what you want to do is write your kind of rough script. I recommend bullet points, but I like to use something like Poppy AI to write a rough draft. And I think after that, you can take 10 to 20 calls while refining the script every 5 calls. Literally for Ali Abdaal's high ticket sales script, I have 8 different iterations, and each one gets better and better over time. And you might be wondering like, wait, Kevin, why 10 to 20 calls? Isn't that less than the previous one? The thing is, with the previous phase, you learned all the small like soft skills here. So here, you don't need as many reps because you've been developing those soft skills as well. So now that you know how to close, you're making 20 or 30K, let's go to the last phase for a high ticket closer. The goal here to make 30K plus is to maximize your time as a closer. So remember how we were inbound setting for other people? Now we have people inbound setting for us. Core concept here is that you need to work with inbound setters. So at this point, the question isn't, can I make money with closing? It's how do I maximize my time to make more? Because with every disqualified lead or no-show, you are wasting time. And by maximizing your time, it actually helps everyone because you can help the inbound setters who don't have the skill of closing make money. You can make more money for your client. And then in theory, you can make more money by taking more qualified leads. The only limitation is your time and energy too. So you have to be very, very clear about your call times and all that sort of stuff, and not pushing yourself too much, because everybody will be wanting you to close 24/7, and it gets very exhausting. Another reason why you might fail here is that the inbound setters are just setting whatever, and they're sending you unqualified leads. The whole point of them is to filter out things, right? For you. The other reason why you might fail here is that you don't get enough leads for whatever reason. Maybe you're going through some marketing issues or anything like that. And then you might actually have to go back a step too. The core skill is to maximize your time, maximize your productivity as a closer. And so what I would recommend is you find 1 to 2 inbound setters that you want to consider working with. You also want to be very, very clear about non-negotiables for your set call. So when I was working with setters, I'd be very explicit to be like, hey, some important things I need to know is like the main problem that they're trying to solve, the timing of a solution, whether a financial qualifier, and whether they have partners on the phone. I need to make sure of those things, right? And if they don't abide by those things, like you just don't take their calls. And so now that we kind of went through those first phases, there's actually more. You can actually become a sales architect, a head of sales, like so many different things. And so as my final advice is like, hey, as you're going through these stages, don't beat yourself up too much. It's a lot like jujitsu. Most of your time in jujitsu is spent at like blue belt, white belt level. And so for high ticket sales, 80 to 90% of your time is spent in phase 1 and phase 2. But when you hit phase 3 and phase 4, it becomes really, really quick. You can see that learning closing and getting setters is a very short amount of time. It doesn't have to be that long. If you want my help and skip years of trial and error, you can get my exact scripts and free course, all for free. It's in the top link in the description below. And here is another video that the YouTube algo will think you'll like. What video do you want me to do next? I'll see you guys later, mother people. Bye. Peace.